Hello dear learners, you are most welcome to our fourth lesson. We are still looking at fractions, and in today's lesson we shall be looking at the kinds of fractions. Call them types of fractions. We have so far covered 3 lessons concerning fractions, so please, in case you missed any, run to our playlist, go to O-level fractions, watch whatever you missed, so that we move together as we enjoy mathematics together. I'm teacher Ivan from WUNNA Educational Services. Yes, let us look at the kinds or types of fractions. A fraction such as 3/8, in which the numerator is less than the denominator, is known as a proper fraction. So, a proper fraction is the one in which a numerator is less than a denominator. A numerator is the figure up, whereas a denominator is the figure down. So whenever the figure up is less than the figure down, that fraction is a proper fraction. But a fraction in which the numerator or the figure up is greater than the denominator or the figure down, such a fraction is said to be an improper fraction. We call it improper, reason being it is against the mathematics principles to work out or simplify your fraction and leave it with a bigger numerator than the denominator. It's not in accordance to the principles of calculations. That's why we call it improper. So therefore we shall always change it to a mixed fraction. Now, our third type, mixed fraction. But before we go to mixed fractions, it is important that we go through this. The statement says the integers or whole numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on may be replaced by fractions. If you remember, among the fundamental principles in mathematics, we have one which says that any number divided by 1 is that very number, meaning 1 is the same as 1 divided by 1, because it is that very number. It remains 1 when you divide it by 1. The same applies to 2 and so the other numbers. So writing 3 over 4 is the same as writing 3 over 1 or 4 over 1. So in case we are required, or in case you are required to express this as a fraction, simply divide by 1, it will be a fraction. Good. So note that 11 over 8 can be expanded as 8 plus 3 over 8, whereby when I add 8 and 3, I go back to 11. Therefore, instead of writing 11 over 8, we are looking at how we change the improper to mixed, because we've just said that we cannot leave our fraction in an improper format. We should always convert it to mixed. But before we look at what a mixed fraction is, I wanted us to use this very example and see how we change improper fractions to mixed fractions, so that now we talk about something that we now know how it comes about. So we are trying to change the improper fraction 11/8 to mixed fraction. So we are going to expand 11, but as we are expanding the bigger numerator, we should always look at the denominator and consider it first, because there are many letters that you can add to get 11. But since our denominator is 8, therefore we shall have 8 plus 3. In other words, one of the factors or the figures that you are adding up to get, or you are expanding to get 11, or any numerator, should be a multiple of the denominator. 8 is a multiple of 8. So 8, we can just add on another value that gives us 11. Why are we taking 8 a multiple of 8? Because we shall have to reduce this to get a whole number. Assuming it was, let's say, 17/8. When you look at 17 is 16 plus 1. Why are we saying 16 plus 1? Because 16 is a multiple of 8. Therefore, when I'm dividing 16 by 8, I can easily get a whole number, which is 2. So in that, I'll get 2 plus 1/8. That is in the case of 17/8. In this case, I'm adding 8 plus another number that gives me 11, which is a 3. Why am I considering 8? Because it is a multiple of the denominator, so that I can easily reduce this to 1, so that I'll remain with 1 plus 3/8. And I'll just remove the plus sign to write my final mixed fraction as 1 and 3/8. So that is how we change an improper fraction to a mixed fraction. We are going to look at more, but that is one of the easiest way. Therefore, a number such as this one, I mean 1 3/8, is known as a mixed fraction, and it contains a whole number and a proper fraction. Whenever you see a fraction that has a whole number and a proper fraction, that is a mixed fraction. And therefore, all improper fractions must be expressed in form of mixed fractions, as we write them as our final answers. Never write an answer leaving an improper fraction unless it is required as so. So that means that it is very paramount for us to know how to convert improper fraction to mixed fraction. But before we run there, let us come back to our title, kinds of fractions. We have seen 3 kinds of fractions. We have seen the proper fraction, whose numerator is smaller than the denominator or less than the denominator. Then our second type was the improper fractions, and in such fractions, the improper fractions, the numerator is bigger or greater than the denominator, and since it is not in line with the principles of mathematics, to write fractions or to express fractions as improper, then we shall always change the improper fractions to our third type, which is the mixed fraction. We've just seen how we do that. So those are the 3 types or kinds of fractions. We have the proper, improper, and mixed. A mixed fraction consists of a whole number and a proper fraction. Good. So we are told that improper fractions can be expressed as mixed numbers and vice versa, meaning even mixed numbers can be changed back to improper fractions, as we are going to look at how we do that in our examples. Yes, this is example 4, where we are told to write 141 over 72 as a mixed number or mixed fraction. If you look at our fraction, which is 241 divided by 72, in this fraction the numerator is bigger than the denominator, so it is an improper fraction, and therefore our task is to change it to a proper fraction. We've said that we shall look for 2 numbers that you add to get 141, but one of the 2 numbers should be a multiple of the denominator. In this case, the denominator is 72. We are going to look for multiples of 72, and we consider that is less but close to 141. If you try to use your calculator, you'll find that it is 216. How do we get this? There are 2 ways. One, you are going to multiply this denominator by natural numbers, by 1, 2, 3, 4, until you get a number that is less close to the numerator but a multiple of the denominator. We multiply 72 by counting numbers or natural numbers until we get a number that is close to 241. So that number that you have multiplied with 72 to get that number that is close this becomes our whole number. And now the answer we have gotten, because that answer is always less than the numerator, so the answer we got when we multiply that number, the answer obtained is subtracted from the numerator. For instance, in this case, The number we are talking about is 3. When you multiply 72 by 3, you'll get 216, which is the nearest multiple of 72 to 241. The other multiple is greater than 241, so we don't consider that. We shall consider the one that is less but near. So that multiple is 216, but it is obtained after multiplying 3 by 72, meaning that number we multiplied to get 216 is our whole number. So it will appear as a whole number. Then the balance, when you subtract 241 minus the multiple you got, the balance now 25 becomes the numerator of the mixed fraction, and automatically the 72, which is the divisor, becomes the denominator. So now this is a mixed fraction that has a whole number and a smaller numerator compared to the denominator. I'm repeating this. We are saying that for us to get or to change this fraction into a mixed one, we shall multiply 72 by counting numbers starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, until we get a multiple of 72, or a number that is near our numerator. In this case, that number is 216, which is obtained after multiplying 72 by 3. So 3 becomes our whole number. Then the difference between the numerator and your answer you got, the difference meaning you subtract. When you subtract, you get 25. Now 25 becomes our new numerator, and 76 remains our denominator. So that is how we convert improper to mixed fraction. We call this Longo division. So if you know how to do Longo division, it is the very point, but I just wanted to summarize it for you so that you understand it well. In case there is something that is disturbing, please alert me in the comment. We shall clear air on that. So after looking at how we convert that, let us look at another example. In this example, we are now doing the reverse. We are going to change from mixed back to improper. This is quite very simple. We shall just simply multiply the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator to get our new numerator. I'm repeating. To get our new numerator, we multiply the denominator 7 times the whole number 3. What you get is what we add to 6, the already existing numerator. So that is 7 times 3 is 21. Then 21 plus 6 gives us 27. So meaning that our improper fraction is 27 out of 7. Then in Roman numeral 2, we shall multiply 13 by 5 plus 6. 13 times 5 is 65 plus 6 gives us 71. So our new fraction will be 71 out of 13. So that is now how we convert mixed fractions to improper fractions. The rule is simple. Multiply the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator. What you get is what we shall divide by the original denominator to get our improper fraction. So with that, it will be enough for this very lesson. Otherwise, what is coming up is simply some work to do. Yes, we have two numbers here. The first one is requesting us to express the mixed numbers as the integers. Oh, sorry, we are mixing. No, so it is expressing as mixed numbers or as integers. These are improper fractions. These are improper fractions because we have 10 over 3, we have 21 over 8, we have 20 over 5. So the numerators are bigger than the denominators, which implies that they are improper fractions. So we are going to express these improper fractions as mixed fractions or mixed numbers. We've seen that, so try out these 5 numbers. Then in the second question, we have mixed fractions or mixed numbers. So we are going to convert these to improper fractions, just like we have seen in our previous example. So you please try out these numbers and comment with your answers so that we confirm that we are indeed moving together. And then this is our last set of trials. Yes, this one says simplify each of the following fractions. Here we are simplifying by reducing E. Now in part C, we shall first of all change to improper. After changing to improper, we can now see whether we can simplify further. Then lastly, we are supposed to arrange the group of fractions in descending order. Descending, that is from highest to smallest. So we saw how we compare fractions in our previous videos. Please watch that part and come try out these numbers. Please always let us keep in touch by commenting with our answers so that we share ideas. Otherwise, allow me pause from here. I'm teacher Ivan from WUNNA Educational Services. Bye bye.